Somewhere in America right now, there's a mall that's still open and almost completely empty. The lights are on, the escalators are running. A song plays through the speakers, something soft, a few years out of date, with almost no one there to hear it. A security guard walks a loop he's walked 1,000 times. A few storefronts are still lit, the rest are dark, with paper taped over the glass. And standing in the middle of that wide, polished hallway built for thousands of people, you feel something you can't quite name. It isn't fear, it's closer to memory, because you've been here before. Maybe not this exact mall, but one like it. And the version of you that came here is gone now, too. We usually explain all of this with one word: online shopping. The internet killed the mall. Case closed. But that's too clean. And it misses what actually happened, which is stranger and sadder than a store going out of business. Because the mall was never really about shopping. This is the story of how one man tried to build a perfect little city indoors, how it became the center of American life for 40 years, and how it quietly became a place we only visit in memory. If you're old enough, you remember what a mall felt like when it was full. You got dropped off before you could drive, and for a few hours, you had somewhere to be and no one watching you. You weren't there to buy anything. You were there to walk around, to see people, to be seen. And somehow, doing nothing at the mall didn't feel like doing nothing. It felt like being a part of the world. Hold on to that feeling, because that feeling is the whole story. To understand the mall, you have to start with the man who hated almost everything about the American suburb. His name was Victor Gruen, an architect born in Vienna. In 1938, when the Nazis took Austria, he fled to New York with $8 in his pocket and almost no English. He'd grown up in a city of cafes and sidewalks and crowded public squares where life happened out in the open around other people. And the America he found after the war horrified him. The new suburbs had no center, just houses and roads and parking lots running out to the horizon. Nowhere to gather, nowhere to simply be, unless you were buying something or sitting at home. Gruen thought he could fix that, and his fix was the indoor mall. In 1956, he opened Southdale Center outside Minneapolis, the first fully enclosed, climate-controlled shopping mall in the country. Outside, the Minnesota winter was brutal. Inside, Gruen built an eternal spring, a garden, a goldfish pond, sculpture, a vast skylight pouring light onto cafes where people could sit for hours. He wasn't building a store. He was building a town square with a roof on it. And his plan went far past the building. Around it, he imagined apartments, schools, a medical center, a park, a whole real community around this warm, bright, indoor heart. And here's the part almost no one knows. Almost none of it got built. The developers took Gruen's beautiful, humane idea and kept exactly one piece of it, the piece that made money. They kept the sealed space, the perfect temperature, the captured crowd, and named all of it at one goal: getting you to buy more than what you came for. There's even a name for what that design does to you: the Gruen transfer. It's that moment when you walk in for one thing, the light and the layout wash over you, you forget why you came, and just start drifting and spending. It's named after him, which is a cruel kind of immortality because Gruen came to hate what he'd made. By the end of his life, he refused to take any credit for the shopping mall at all. In a 1978 speech in London, he disowned the whole thing. He called the developments that copied him bastard projects and said he would not pay alimony for them. Then he moved home to Vienna, and soon after, they built a mall there too. The story goes that it broke his heart. The man who invented the mall died believing he'd built a monster. But for a long time, the monster thrived, because the design was almost perfect. At each end, you put a giant department store: Sears, JCPenney, Macy's. These were the anchors, and they pulled people in from the parking lot. To get from one to the other, you had to walk past everything else: the shoe stores, the record store, the arcade, the food court. You came in for one thing and left having seen 100. The mall wasn't selling products, it was selling the walk. Through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that walk became the backdrop of growing up. It's where you saw your first movie without your parents, bought your first album, worked your first job folding shirts. For a while, the mall wasn't dying. It was the most alive place in town. And then, it started to fall apart. Not all at once, but store by store. The first problem was simple. America built too many of them. Between 1956 and 2005, the country put up more than 1,500 enclosed malls. A mall feels special when it's the only one for 50 miles. A lot less special when there's another 20 minutes down the highway. So they started to eat each other. The nicer mall got the better stores, the renovations, the restaurants people would drive for. The other one just got quieter. And empty feeds on itself. One store closes, the hall feels colder, fewer people come, so the next store wonders why it's still paying rent. Retail people call it the death spiral. Then came the worst problem. The anchors began to die. The great department stores that held everything together started closing by the hundreds. And when an anchor closes, it doesn't just leave an empty box, it takes the crowd with it. The little stores were never living off their own customers. They lived off the river of people the anchors pulled in. When that river dried up, everything downstream went with it. And then, of course, came the internet, the part everyone points to. But online shopping didn't kill the mall the way you think. Even now, after 30 years of it, online sales are only about 17% of everything Americans buy. The other 83% still happens in real, physical stores. So we didn't really stop shopping in person. The internet quietly took away the reason to wander. The mall used to be where you discovered music. Then music moved into your headphones. It used to be where you found out what was new. Now, the new thing finds you in bed on a screen before you even stood up. And what teenagers used it for most, somewhere to go when you were bored, the phone took that completely. Boredom used to push you out of the house. Now, it pulls you deeper into the couch. The mall lost its grip on the one thing it was really selling, which was never the merchandise. It was the afternoon. Which brings us back to that empty hallway. There's a reason a dead mall feels eerier than other abandoned places. An abandoned castle is just history. It belongs to the people who are already long gone. But a dead mall belongs to you. It's a recent ruin. The tiles are the same tiles. The benches are the same benches. The fountain is the same fountain, just switched off. There are people who film these places now, before they're demolished. A whole quiet corner of the internet, documenting dead malls like archaeologists. What they capture is a building still doing its old job perfectly for an audience that left years ago. The signs still point to the stores that closed a decade back. The map still says, "You are here." On average, a dead American mall sits empty for almost 4 years before anyone decides what to do with it. 4 years of running escalators and soft music for no one. And one detail says everything. America has basically stopped building new enclosed malls. The last of the big ones went up in 2019. The form is finished. We're just watching the old ones get older. But here's where it turns, because the mall isn't simply dead. It's splitting in two. The best malls, in wealthy areas with the right stores, are doing better than they have in years. Nearly as busy as before the pandemic. They survived by admitting that people don't come for the shopping anymore. So they added what people will still leave home for. Restaurants, gyms, movie theaters, apartments. They stopped being stores and went back to being places to gather. And the malls that couldn't make that turn are becoming something else entirely. Across the country, dead malls are being torn open and rebuilt into apartments, clinics, churches, community colleges, even parks, which is almost too fitting to be real. Because remember what Gruen actually wanted, not a store, a town center. Homes and schools and clinics and open public space, all in one place. He died thinking he'd failed, that he'd built a shopping machine instead of a community. And now, 70 years later, those machines are being broken apart and turned into the exact thing he dreamed of. People are starting to live where the food court used to be. Students study where teenagers once skipped class. The mall is finally becoming the town he wanted, just decades too late for him to see it. So, what happened to malls? The easy answer is that shopping moved online. The real answer is that we changed. We stopped needing a place to be bored in. We stopped discovering things by walking past them. We stopped going somewhere just to see who else might be there. The mall didn't lose to the internet. It lost to a version of life that doesn't require leaving home. And what people miss when they miss the mall was never the stores. They miss being 15 with a whole empty afternoon and nowhere to be. They miss a world where something might happen just because you walked through the doors. Somewhere right now, that mall is still open. The lights are still on. The song is still playing. And everyone it was built for is somewhere else, holding the whole world in the palm of one hand.